Only love can save us now. Only love.
Thank you very much for staying with us, and we are back with Sir Arthur, who I may have referred to as Sir Orville earlier. Sir Orville is a Grantstown man, very, very much in the hearts of the Grantstown people. But Sir Arthur, we wish to continue this discussion by looking at the future of the Bahamas relative to or based upon the principles that form the foundation of the majority rule day, the progressive movement of the 50s and 60s.
Yes. Well, you were kind enough to invite me to attend the service on Sunday, and I will be making some brief remarks. But I think I can say in advance of that, that I will be challenging us to look at all the hopes and aspirations that we had at that time. Look at all the things that we thought we accomplished or started to accomplish at that time, and take stock and see how faithful or otherwise we have been to these principles. In other words, a sort of national examination of conscience. See where we are and where we need to go. Needless to say, but I say it anyway, that I, like you, I suppose, none of us are really very happy that we are where we ought to be in the Bahamas today. We have a multitude of problems. Perhaps our greatest problem is our social problems.
Yes.
We have economic problems, but those will fluctuate and they will come and go. But the social problems are the ones that we have to tackle, and we have to apply our best minds to and our best energies to solving. And I think you may recall that you and I had a conversation some years ago when these killings started, and I said to you, because you're my friend, we've been friends for years, and I said to you, this will soon stop, eh? And you said something like to me, no, there's plenty more behind them.
Yes.
And your words were prophetic.
Yes.
There were indeed plenty more, as we are now seeing, behind them. So we have to put our minds together. We have to make some serious interventions, social interventions.
That's right.
If we are going to fix this problem. And there are many aspects of it that we don't have time to talk about on this program, but culture is important.
Yes.
We have to restore again respect for education.
Yes.
We have to restore again the idea that discipline is a good thing. We've become, in many areas, too slack.
That's right.
And you know, we used to be, Reverend Moss, we used to be a self-reliant people. What older generations went through and survived. I always tell younger people, you know, I tell them, you know, you have challenges, but your forefathers had higher mountains to climb.
That's right.
And wider rivers to cross, and they crossed them.
They did, and they knew that hard work didn't kill. It bred character.
Exactly.
Well, you know, Sir Arthur, you said to me a moment ago about some of us being disappointed. That's putting it mildly, you know. And I recall on the 50th anniversary of Black Tuesday, which occurred in April of last year, there was a service, I don't know what kind of service it was, in Rawson Square to mark the 50th anniversary. And I made it a point to go to Rawson Square, to stand virtually in the same spot I stood 50 years prior to that day. And as I reflected on our aspirations, our dreams, we were a small, proud nation, with people emerging into the big, wide world, small but proud and tough. You know, Sir Arthur, I couldn't stop the tears from flowing, standing on Bay Street, when I realized how far from the mark we have strayed.
Yes.
It was a very sad moment for me. I recall thinking, is this what you were prepared to give up so much for? And I recall saying, I'll do it again. We cannot allow ourselves to be pulled off course.
Right.
We have to speak truth to power. The leaders of that progressive movement really decided to use the social channel to elevate our people. But look at us today. And it's simply because we have not utilized all of the resources that we have at our disposal. We seem to think, well, friends and family members and other select people, we can do it with them and marginalize the others. As you commented a minute ago, 10 years ago, because of our relationship with the communities, we sensed that we were going to have a major crime wave in this country. And as you and I discussed it, we also discussed it with the leaders of both parties, so there's sufficient blame to go around. And I recall saying to them that in the next few years, this nation will see a tsunami of crime, because tsunami is a new word that's just come into play. We will see a tsunami of crime. We must do something now. And do you know? No response.
Yeah.
And that is so sad, because we are now feeling the full impact of that prediction. And it is sad because I believe if we, using all of the resources that we have, all of our people, the Bahamas could still be the ideal place that we projected when we call this paradise.
Right.
And I still believe that. Unfortunately, our leaders, we're suffering from a crisis of leadership. And I'm not just speaking politically. I'm speaking leadership in the home, leadership in our communities, in our churches, even our businesses. And politically, the same. We need to tap into the abilities of all of our people. Doesn't matter who they are, where they're from, and utilize that to strengthen and in some cases create new avenues of development for our people. And it goes to the social. We've done well economically, in spite of what we're experiencing now, but it's our social problem.
That's right.
And I am saddened to say that the major stakeholders paid no attention. However, we decided that since we could not generate the interest or support in our major leaders, that we were going to do it anyway. And so just this morning, we officially launched anti-crime initiative for our community. It's called Hands Around Bain Grantstown. You may recall the Hands Across the Bahamas project, which I had the privilege of serving as the executive director. It was a Rotary Clubs Foundation project in 1988, and that was immensely successful. And we have been trying to get the leaders of our country to recognize that the situation is sufficiently dire that we should have some similar kind of event to bring our people together. Our strength is in our unity. And unfortunately, they were not interested. So we have launched it. Unfortunately, we cannot have a national project as that was. We don't have the capacity to do that. But we are inviting residents and friends of Bain Grantstown to join us on the 28th of February, 2016, that's next month, as we link hands in a symbolic show of unity around the community of Bain Grandstown. And for those who may not know, the boundaries are Nassau Street and Poinciana Drive, Wolf Road, East Street, Shirley Street, come around, Meeting Street, as a sign of solidarity, standing collectively against crime and criminals, and also symbolically protecting our community from criminals, both external and internal. This is a part of a 12-month initiative, which we have articulated this morning. And we believe that at the end of this 12-month period, that's January to December 2016, there will be a positive impact on crime in our community and hopefully throughout New Providence at least. Now, it's unfortunate that it has to be done on a regional basis. This should be done nationally.
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 Perhaps others will.
Well, that's what we're
follow
hoping.
right.
We are hoping and encouraging other communities
to get together.
since we don't seem to have the commitment, the leadership at the national level, and this is not pointing fingers at anyone because this is across the board, then we have to take responsibility for our community. And so we still are very, very optimistic about the balance because the principles espoused by those progressive movers are still there, are still there, and it has proven over the years that it has served us well, and it is a strong foundation upon which to build our future. But we just must get back to it. We just must get back to it, rather than double standards for the haves and the have-nots. We have to treat people equally, rather than creating a culture of dependency by giving handouts. We have to encourage people to take more responsibility for their own development. We have to assist them in achieving that, because truth be told, Sir Arthur, this is a beautiful country.
It is a beautiful country indeed.
And I have no desire, no intention to go anywhere else.
And also, Reverend Moss, despite the problems we're having, we are still a beautiful people.
Oh yes, oh yeah, absolutely.
And also, and I keep saying this, that we are a very talented people. We have more than our share
We are
of
gifted
talent
people.
that we need to put to good use.
That's right, that's right. That's absolutely correct. And so what we are doing by having this project in the Over the Hill area, we are calling upon the residents and former residents of that area, those two towns, to once again step forward and lead this nation. They did it during, all of you did it, during the 50s and the 60s.
Now, can I say this too? Let me take this opportunity to, you talk about those of us who are on the front line. There were some other people too whose names will be forgotten.
Yes.
People like Effie Walks.
Yes.
People like Moses Davis, Ding Wood, any number of persons like that, who without whom we could not have succeeded.
Absolutely.
So we like to remember that, and there are people like them still there.
Still there.
I believe, waiting to be called to service.
That's the point. Because unfortunately, what has happened over the decades, they've been relegated to the sidelines. It's almost as if it's, looking at the leadership, they have become just fans of what's going on rather than participants. And we have to bring them, and that's why we are calling upon the residents, former residents, the offspring of those two communities. We refer to Bain Town and Grandstown as the heart and soul of the Bahamas. And we are calling upon them one more time to step forward and to show that they can provide leadership when it's desperately needed. In the 50s and 60s, it was needed. I recall the marches, those ordinary people whose names none of us recall, but they were there. When the leaders showed up on Windsor Park, the park was full of people waiting to go. Those people, like you said, are still there. They simply need to be called upon. They need to be inspired. And Bain Grantstown really has been the engine that drove this country. We talk about the well-known riot of 1942, which started the modern day drive for freedom.
Right.
But there were two other so-called riots in Bain Grantstown in the earlier years, where they revolted against the abuse that was being heaped upon them. So Bain Grantstown has always had
a goodly heritage.
Goodly heritage, that
Goodly
spirit
Goodly heritage.
to lead. And so we're
Yeah.
calling upon them one more time. But Sir Arthur, we need to articulate more some of the ideals of the progressive movement. And it doesn't matter, some of them are dead and gone. Others have dispersed into other political organizations and so forth. But they still exist, and the strength of their contribution is still being felt. I am proud of them, and I wish that we would reach the point where we would sit down as leaders and recall the ingredients that made that movement. It was palpable. You could feel it. I mean, it was an excitement. We believed we were going somewhere.
And we were.
And we believed that we had some great things to accomplish. But I don't feel that today.
I know. We have to recover that spirit.
That spirit is missing.
Yeah.
And we have to reach back to the principles that launched us. It's still there, you know. It's still, and some of the people are still there. And we must reach them, and even the younger ones. Sometimes I think we're doing an injustice to them by firstly not familiarizing them with the principles and the ideas that exist that drove their grandparents. We've not shown them.
And it's our fault. We haven't really. You were talking earlier about we need to learn world history.
That's right.
But we need to learn our own history. And I talk with young people sometimes, educated young people, and I'm surprised at the things they do not know.
That's right.
About their history. And that, Reverend Moss, we have to correct.
We must correct
That's absolutely essential.
And we're trying to do that in our community. We're trying to say to the residents, even some of them are new, some of them may not be homegrown. They may be immigrants from other, but still, when you come to Bain Grantstown, you should embrace the ideals of the people.
Yes.
And you should become a part of that legacy that we all should be so proud of.
Right.
You know, people look down their nose very often at Bain Grantstown, but you know that is not deserved.
I know.
You talked earlier about the well-structured, organized